Ever feel like your English is, it's pretty good, but like something's missing?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're ordering vanilla when there's like 31 flavors on the menu.
Yeah, yeah.
Today we're scooping into the good stuff, those little phrases that native speakers use that just, I don't know, they make you sound like you belong.
It's amazing how much weight those little phrases actually carry. Like
Right.
a shortcut to sounding fluent.
Totally. So we found this podcast. It's called Advanced English Phrasal Verbs, and they had some really good examples.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and we're going to focus on three of them: catch up, brush off, and dive into. And even if you're not like studying for some big English exam, these are still super useful.
Absolutely. I mean, they really add a level of sophistication that goes beyond just basic grammar.
Yeah, like anyone can say catch up, but when a native speaker uses it, it just hits different.
It does take, we need to catch up, for example.
Yeah.
It kind of implies you want to reconnect with someone, but it's still very, like, general.
It is. It is. You're not giving them anything specific.
Exactly. But listen to this. This is from the podcast. They're at, I think, a coffee shop or something.
Okay.
Two friends. Audio snippet from Advanced English Phrasal Verbs plays, showcasing two people using catch-up in different contexts.
Oh, okay.
So you hear how their tone kind of changed when they moved from just the general idea of catching up to making actual plans.
Yeah.
That shift from informal to a little more formal, that's key.
It's true. I never even thought about it like that, but it's so true because it shows their comfort level,
Yeah.
like how the conversation naturally progresses.
Exactly. And those little nuances, those are the things that trip up language learners a lot of the time. They might know the definition, like in the dictionary,
Hmm.
but not how we actually use it when we're talking.
It's like having all the ingredients but no recipe.
Exactly.
Speaking of handling things smoothly, what about brush off?
Mm-hmm.
Like when someone tries to, get to you, but you just let it roll right off.
Brush off. That's a great one.
Yeah.
We're not talking about actually brushing something, right? It's all
Yeah.
about resilience, like choosing what you let get to you.
Yeah, and it sounds so confident, doesn't it?
It does.
The Advanced English podcast had a good example. They were in an office setting for this one. Audio snippet from Advanced English Phrasal Verbs plays, showcasing the phrase brush off in the context of dealing with criticism. Ooh, I like that. Mic drop, like your negativity, not today.
Exactly. It's like you're in control, you know? Like you're not going to let someone else's opinion, especially a bad one, like dictate your mood.
Right, boundary.
Setting those boundaries.
Yes. So I'm curious, listeners, think about a time when you brushed something off successfully.
Ew.
What was happening and
Mhm.
how did it feel?
That's a good one. We'll let you think about that for a second while we switch gears to a phrase that's got like completely different energy. Dive into.
Oh, yeah.
This one I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a real sense of purpose with dive into, isn't there?
Mhm.
Like, it's not just about starting something. It's like you said, that energy, that gusto you bring to it.
And you can use it for so many things. Remember that example from the podcast we were listening to? I can't wait to dive into that new book tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
You could practically hear the excitement. It wasn't just reading. It was like they were entering a whole different world.
It's like cracking open a brand new notebook.
Ah.
So much potential.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be something like relaxing.
Right.
A big project at work. If you say, I'm going to dive right into this thing, it kind of shows you're not afraid of the challenge.
We're not just dipping your toes in, right?
Yeah.
You're going all in.
You're owning it. And what's interesting is you have to be enthusiastic about it. Like you wouldn't say, I'm going to dive into this pile of laundry, would you?
Unless you really love laundry. But I get what you mean. You got to be into it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Passionate, dedicated. Now, thinking back to those other two phrases we talked about, catch up, brush off, you notice something about all of them? There's a theme, I think. A certain level of control, maybe.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You're right. With catch up, you're taking control of your social life, making time for people.
Yeah.
And then brush off, you're controlling how you react to things, not letting the bad stuff get to you.
Yes.
And dive into, it's like you said, taking on a challenge head first, not being afraid of it.
Exactly. You're taking charge. And that's what makes these phrases so powerful, I think. You sound more sophisticated, more in control.
It's like you're sending a message without actually saying it.
Right. Mastering those little cues that we don't even think about but make a big difference.
Yeah. So we've caught up with catch up. We brushed off any negativity with brush off. And we took a deep dive into dive into.
There you go.
Who knew phrasal verbs could be so much fun?
Right. They're like the secret weapons to sounding fluent. But remember, it's not just about memorizing them.
Right.
It's about getting how they're used, the tone, the context.
It's about actually using them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
imagine you're at, I don't know, some kind of networking event.
Yeah.
And instead of just saying, we should talk sometime, which is kind of blah,
Yeah.
you say, let's catch up soon.
Ooh, I like it.
Right. It's different.
It is. You're not just making small talk anymore. You're suggesting an actual connection.
Exactly. Or think about brush off. Someone says something rude about like your shoes. Just brush it off.
Yes.
Like it's nothing.
Yeah. And they'll never know it bothered you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not giving them the satisfaction. And then there's that energy of dive into, like you're telling a friend, oh my gosh, I'm diving into this pottery class. It's amazing.
Yes.
Suddenly everyone wants to do pottery.
You're not just giving information, you're sharing your passion.
It's contagious, right?
Totally.
This has been really interesting. And speaking of journeys, you know that podcast we were talking about, the Advanced English one? They said something kind of cool, that even if you just practice like a few of these advanced phrases, it can actually make you sound more fluent.
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
Yeah, it's like anything else, the more you use it, the more natural it becomes.
Right, right.
Like they become tools in your tool belt, you know? You don't have to think about it.
It's like you're not translating in your head anymore.
Exactly. You're free to just like be in the moment, you know? Focus on what you're saying, how you feel, not the grammar.
Right, like you're not worried about messing up.
Exactly. It's like imagine learning those cool chords on a guitar.
Okay, yeah.
Suddenly you're not just strumming, you're really playing.
You're making music.
Exactly. And just like learning those chords, it takes a little work, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, for sure. So listeners, here's your homework. Pick one of these phrases. Catch up, brush off, dive into, try to use it this week, like in a real conversation.
I love it.
See what happens.
Right. Pay attention to how it feels when you say it, how other people react. It's really interesting.
And remember, language is supposed to be fun.
That's the most important part. It should be playful, you know?
Exactly. All right, on that note, we'll catch you all on our next deep dive.
See you next time.